Hey everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to Feisty on Friday. I'm Tosca Di Matteo and I'm founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting. And I'm super stoked to be here with you. It kind of almost didn't happen, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh my God, I'm tired. I had like stress dreams last night. But then I put on my new fabulous makeup and I'm like, you know what? I can't let these nice eyes go to waste today. So here I am. And, okay, here's the thing. Side note. All right, what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about how I feel about Women's Month, okay? It may not be what you think it's going to be. So hang tight. But first, I have to share a story. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the concept of numerology and the idea that, like, when you see repeating numbers, like, those could be little messages for you from the universe. And when you really start paying attention to like numbers that you're seeing frequently, and you investigate, literally, it could just be a Google. You might be like really shocked at how it resonates or how it really ties back to your life right now. So I'm always like, I pay attention to like palindromes, like on my like car odometer and stuff like that, right? You might think I'm crazy. Or like the number one, repeating ones. There's a couple numbers in my life that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Anyway, so I'm like, oh my God, I'm really tired, but like, let me do this Feisty on Friday because I've got the consistency this year. Why would I not do it? And then, I go to like hit live, and I see, it tells you how many people in your network are like online right now. And it said 39 people. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, how is this possible? It's like every time I go on to do Feisty on Friday, I swear to God, it says 39. Like it doesn't matter what time. Literally like 9 out of 10 times I'm about to go live, it says there I have 39 followers active, right? So I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. I think I need to look this number up, right? Because I'm like, what does this mean? Like this 39 keeps popping up and it like finally dawned on me, even though I've been seeing this number for weeks and weeks. Okay, this is what's crazy. I'm going to read to you what 39 means according to angelnumber.org, okay? And it says, angel number 39 signifies love towards humankind and the desire to help improve it. People who resonate with this number incline towards finding creative ways to help humanity. They are focused on helping large groups of people. They are often part of groups and associations focused on the well-being of humanity. These people have creative ideas for an ideal society. They are very optimistic, tolerant, and inspiring individuals. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. The whole reason why I do like Feisty on Friday is to help humanity, to help bring humanity into all of our spaces and places, and like, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, maybe I should cancel Feisty on Friday and just like do something else, create something else. But after reading this, I'm sitting here like, Feisty on Friday it is. Let's do it. Okay, so I just want to share that because what I think is interesting is when I bring up like numbers to people, it is often, I think it's surprising to people. They don't think about numbers as a way that like you can receive messages from a higher power, receive it from your angels, your guides, whoever you think is like, an entity bigger than yourself, that you can maybe be getting messages that way. And so, maybe a new concept for you. Certainly when I first heard of it, I was like, what? And then like, it's amazing, right? When you start to pay attention, it's no different than if you're walking down the street and you're like, you see a hawk fly in front of you and you're like, oh my God, that's a good omen. Like, what does that mean? Like those types of things that hold meaning that like we pay attention to because they're striking. So I just offer you that. Pay attention to what numbers you're seeing and see if you keep seeing a pattern over and over, and then Google and see like, Google like angel number meaning, 1, 2, 3 or whatever's coming up for you. it can be really, I think, I don't know, it was just inspiring for me. I mean, can you imagine that whole message? It's crazy. Anyway. Okay, so listen. All right. It is March. It is, Women's History Month. You've got International Women's Day, right? That was on March 8th. And you've got all this content and programming, right? With women on panels, having conversations. And let me tell you why I am feisty. Because are we talking to our goddamn selves? Like, is it just women on panels talking to other women about being awesome? Because I already fucking know that. Like, what I want the men in the room to be a part of these conversations. I want to see men on the panels with women talking about women's empowerment. Like, that, to me, is moving things forward. We can't do it within ourselves. It's like preaching to the choir. Like, I get it. Yeah, like, we need more women in CEO roles. We need more CMOs and everything C-suite. We need people on the boards. We need people, we need women in more industries and represented everywhere. All that stuff, right? And so I just feel like, gosh, guys, I'm tired of talking about myself, and I was talking to this gentleman, which I can't wait for you to meet him. He's going to be on my Talk About It Tuesday on March 23rd. I'm talking to Dr. Daniel Kelly, about social activism and allyship. And, we talked about intersectionality, right? And we talked about, like, we can't just, it's Women's Month, but we can't, like, drop the fact that we still need to be talking about equality across race, across gender, across everything. And so I don't believe in, like, let's just drop all the other conversations and talk about women. No, it's like we have to hold them all in the balance, like, all the time, and not just in March or in February or in October for Hispanic, and, like, Asian history, whatever. Like, it needs to be all the time, all of these things. Like, that they can be talked about in the same breath and in the same sentence, and I reposted the flowetry / rap / poem, whatever you want to call it, that I did last year for March Madness, Women's History Month. And I feel the same damn way about it. Like, we can't just be talking about women. We got to be talking about everything equality. Like, this is how you dismantle white supremacy. Like, everybody that's not a white male, white female, whatever, we need to be talking about everybody and making it an inclusive conversation. And I also believe we shouldn't be talking to ourselves. Like, I'll be honest, right? So I'm a relatively new entrepreneur, right? I guess I've been in the game like 2.5 years, so maybe it's not so new, but, like, it's pretty new. And there's a lot of organizations now coming up with women supporting women. And that's great. And there's a place for that, and there's a need for that. And look, I'm a part of some of those, right? And you know what I miss? I miss the men, the guys in the room, because we need them too. Like, we need them, we do business with them as part of conversations. We need them to be allies. We need them to help us move conversation forward. Like, we need them to know about our businesses so that, look, I don't want just female clients. And I know a lot of business owners, women business owners, only want to serve women. And that's beautiful and that's great. And, like, more power to you. Like, that's why I love diversity, because we can all serve whoever we want based on what's in our heart to do. And what's in my heart to do is to serve everybody. Every race, color, creed, religion, sexual orientation, sexual preference, whatever. And so those are the people that I want in the rooms. And I don't know. Like, you tell me if I'm missing the boat on where to find that. But I feel like, it's kind of like how I feel a little bit, conflicted about even employee resource groups with these affinity groups, like, women or LGBTQ or, Black and brown people. Yes, I think there needs to be spaces for these, these groups to gather and know they're supported and know that their problems are not, of their own, and that it's shared experience, right? And it normalizes all that stuff. I think there's spaces for that, and I think they need to be integrated, right? It's like, how do all of these people who feel marginalized in these organizations come together and have conversations with those who are perpetuating, right, and part of the challenge, so that we can have constructive conversations, difficult conversations, to move things forward, right? And so I remember years ago I saw this this article about the death of employee resource groups, and it's a controversial thing, right? Do they make sense? Do they not make sense? All I know is that I want to see more men, or however you identify your gender, in these different spaces, so that we're not talking to ourselves. It's just nuts. And let me tell you the other thing that drives me crazy about the world of speaking engagements and panels and where we're having conversations. There's a lot of organizations out there that want to get the highest title on the panels, with the biggest company names, because that's aspirational, right? Because these women have made it. But you know what? If you don't actually have something to say, you shouldn't be on a panel. If you actually have something to contribute to the realness of the conversation, for those who are organizing this stuff, double check that. Because what happens is, it all ends up looking the same. And we hear from the same people because they made it, because they got on the speaker circuit, because they've got the connections. It's a small world. And I'm diversify people. Put different women on these panels, in these rooms, to have these conversations, that actually have stories that they're willing to share and be vulnerable about. Because nobody wants to hear that I made it, I'm super successful, and I did it, and you can too. We want to hear that, but no, what we really want to hear, we want to hear about the crap. We want to hear about when you were in the muckety muck, how did you find your way out of it? Because that is what's inspiring. That is what helps us know we're not alone. Not just seeing the end of the fucking, road. So yeah, I'm just let's just get the realness out there about the journey, and stop putting the, pretty pictures out there and pretend like it wasn't a slog, and I'm just, I'm also inviting in these women to go below the surface with what you're sharing in these conversations, right? When you do have these big audiences, are you just saying what you think people want to hear? Are you still just playing the game of wanting to be liked? Or are you willing to go up on these stages, virtual stages right now, and share and be vulnerable? And share those times where you cried yourself to sleep, or share those times where you were, drinking a glass of wine every night because you just were numbing yourself because it was so hard. I think that's what's really valuable. What's really valuable is for people to hear the stories that you don't want to tell. So if you're out there, ask yourself, what are the stories you don't want to tell, and tell those stories. You know what I'm saying? That's what people really want to hear. And that takes courage and bravery. And that's, I think, also what the people who are oppressing others need to hear. They need to hear the real story of the hurt. They need to feel the pain just a little bit, because you were willing to share what the impact is on you. That's how you start to build empathy, is you start to say, let me share a story about what it meant to be the only this in the room or the only that in the room, or what it felt like when you asked me this question, which made me feel less than, you know? Like, we need to start sharing those stories with the people that need to hear it, not to the choir that already fucking knows all of the bullshit that we deal with in this life. Yeah. I'm really curious, for those of you watching, you know, if you feel this way, you know, and it feels a little bit weird, right? This is supposed to be a month of celebration and like honoring women, but fuck, we need to be doing that every day, 365. Like, I don't need a month for that. That's what I do, you know, is bring voices to light that need to hear it. And that's why, you know, on my platform, I talk about it Tuesday. Look, the reality is I have different genders represented this month, you know, because part of my ethos is that I want to hear everybody, and you know, whoever comes into the sphere and books a calendar in the divine right timing, then so be it. So yes, there are men on my platform this month, because we need those voices too in this journey. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what else? Let's see. What else do I have to say about this? I think that there's a lot of ways in, right, to doing the work around building awareness and lifting up everybody in society, lifting up women, lifting up BIPOC, lifting up in however way people identify, you know, transgender, all that stuff. By the way, side note, if you haven't watched Disclosure yet on Netflix, you should totally watch that film with Laverne Cox at the helm. It's a wonderful, eye-opening film. Disclosure, watch it. But you know, I think that I just really am asking everybody to think about the stories that you're telling and who's in the room that you're telling it to. And is it the people that actually matter? Because let me tell you, the safe thing to do, Gracie, it's so awesome to see you. The safe thing to do is to tell our stories of the struggle that women have to ourselves. And to not be vulnerable in front of the people that are actually, you know, causing some of the challenges. Or maybe even in front of other women that have competitive mindset versus collaborative mindset, that don't feel like there's enough space to lift everybody up. And so I just think that there's some more consciousness that needs to happen. In terms of this cause, and do we have the right allies, or are we just in the mirror talking to ourselves, and what are we doing differently? I do think there is a place for like driving awareness of what we're experiencing and why we're experiencing, and absolutely we need to have conversations with each other and be like, oh right, yeah, this is what's really happening below the surface, and we need to have that conversation with the other individuals and people that can help in that plight to make those changes. So yeah, that's what I got. You know, I'm just gonna get this off my chest too, since like that's what I'm here to do, basically, right? Just kind of offload for humanity. Offloading for humanity. That could be a great segment. You know, it's crazy, right? Because my husband, like, you know, every other day he's like, oh my God, like, oh, Andrew Cuomo, like, there's this other woman that came out about this, there's this other woman about that. And I'm like, don't say it with such surprise, right? Yes, this happens all the fucking time everywhere. Why is it surprising that it's happening to a very public figure, you know, and it looks this way? Like, wake up and smell the coffee. We shouldn't be surprised by this. In fact, what we should be surprised about is that there's not more ousting and more outing and more people in leadership that are being called out for their destructive and toxic behaviors. That's what I'm surprised about. I'm not surprised about hearing about this stuff with Andrew Cuomo. I'm surprised we don't hear about it more often. I hate to say it, right? It sounds very negative, but like, it's true. Like, don't be so surprised. If you're surprised, you're not doing the work. You're not doing the work to really understand what is really going on in this world and what kind of white supremacy is happening and what kind of misogyny is happening, and that the dismantling has to happen everywhere. Yeah, if this shit surprises you, wake up. You got more work to do. I know. My husband doesn't watch this, but maybe he will. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll think differently. But we'll see. He doesn't usually watch these, so I think I might be free. And to trust, we do have conversations, okay? Like, I don't let him off the hook. So this will not be news to him. Anyway, all right. I gotta run before I get myself in more trouble, because I am definitely feisty, because spring is coming. And so is change. All right, have a great weekend. Ciao for now. And let me know if you have any thoughts if you made it this far. Talk to you soon. Bye.